it's important that we're recognizing that this country of Australia is founded on a false premise, and we live on unceded land. I'll also just run through a quick couple of housekeeping points. First of all, we still have lots of vouchers for Deliveroo. We want to make sure that everyone feels supported and they have a warm meal if they need it. We know that coronavirus is a massive economic crisis, and this is just some way that we can offer some help. We're not sponsored by Deliveroo at all. It's just a nice idea that we had. So if you need a meal, you want a voucher, please let us know. Maybe message Minna, or you can send an email to our email at info@galileerising.com. This evening, we're going to be recording. Please let us know if that's a problem, or if you'd rather not use your camera, feel free to turn it off. Use the chat for questions. We're going to have a few question times. So yeah, throw questions into the chat if you can't hold on to it. But if you feel like you can wait, we'll open it up for questions as we go through the session. We'll be talking a lot about camp and what's happened there, and some people will probably have their own stories to tell. Let's just be confidential about that. Remember that these online spaces aren't always secure. We have to be careful about what we're telling, and only telling our own story and our own experiences and not someone else's. We also might find some time later on for breakouts, and those won't be recorded, so you can feel a little bit more comfortable there. But again, it's Zoom. You know, Zoom has its own questions about data security, so that's important to be mindful of. I'm introducing the session, but as always, I'm supported by a bunch of lovely other people. Tonight, I'm here with Minna and with Poto, who some of you might know from camp, but if you don't, he was up there for various different lengths of time, and more often than not found in the kitchen. And also Amy, who's been spending a lot of time at camp recently. So as we run through the session today, we'll be talking about camp, a bit of a tour of camp. We'll be showing some videos, and they're going to help us give us a sense of what camp is like. Any other, did you want to introduce yourselves, Amy and Poto?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm Amy. I'm currently on Gunai Kurnai country. Up until recently, I was on Birri country at camp, and I quickly just headed down south for a few weeks, and I'll be back up at camp. But yeah, doing stuff with Frontline Action on Coal for about 18 months now, and yeah, can't wait to sort of leave cold Victoria and go back to sunny Queensland very soon.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so my name's Poto. I'm down in Vic at the moment. I was up at camp for the latter half of last year, which was a very enjoyable and busy time. Hoping to get back up again as well, but like I think a lot of you folks, waiting for Queensland to open the floodgates to let us back in. But yeah, hopefully we'll all be able to get up there soon enough.
Cool. So how tonight will run will be that we're going to first go through a couple of videos, which I mentioned before. We're going to pause them at different spots. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what we're watching. I'm going to pause them, and I'm going to get Amy and Potter to share a story about what we're looking at. But of course, if anyone else has anything that they want to share about that as well, please feel free. This session tonight is far less structured. We made it that way because we're, it's a 6-week webinar series. This is right in the middle. The momentum generally starts to slow down, and we wanted to give people an opportunity to just ask questions and throw ideas out and all that sort of stuff. So we'll be leaving a lot of space for you to jump in and ask questions and tell your own stories. After that, we can talk about specifically logistics, like how much it costs to get up there, how long does it take, what's the best way, all of that sort of stuff. And then maybe as well, Amy, you can give a bit of a spiel on what camp is, when it might be open and what's coming up for camp at the moment. And then that'll take us through till about 8. And then we thought for the last, however long you'd like to stay on the call, but maybe the last 15 minutes or so, we can talk about some of the topics from the previous webinars. If anyone has any questions or any thoughts from the previous webinars that they've been wanting to find a forum to discuss, we're going to give you that forum after 8. So without any further ado, we're going to show one of these videos. So these videos are all already online on the FLAC Facebook, FLAC YouTube page. They're pretty good, very well produced, but here you get the added advantage of having a few extra stories on top. So let me share my screen. How does that look to everyone? You can see the...
Yep.
Something. All right. So this is from the React Code Red mobilization that happened in the start of the year. The video is much longer, but I'm just going to show you this snippet because it's got a good overview of what camp is like. There's a good range of things there. Yeah.
Community that's here, and it's very welcoming and super organized. I would definitely want to come back, and I don't want to leave. It's that kind of place, and I'm just really in awe of all these young people that are stepping up and doing their bit for the environment, for the climate, and I think it's very important that this continues.
Why don't we go back to here? No, too far. Poto, why don't you tell us a little bit about cooking in the kitchen and meal times and dining and all that sort of stuff, having such wonderful experience.
Well, firstly, that freeze frame was not a delicious marshmallow on fire toasting. That was a fire twirling stick. So that's the first thing I learned. Don't confuse the two. If you try to swallow the latter, it will hurt your mouth a lot. But yes, this is our dining area. It was a busy night by the looks of it this night. I wasn't up there for React, but I heard that was one of our biggest crowds there. But I think we could feed anywhere from 10 to 100 people whilst I was up there. We've got a really well-equipped kitchen there, well-stocked fridge and pantry a lot of the time. And the dining space is always a nice time to come together at the end of the day or during the day. We also have breakfast, lunch, dinner, of course. to recap how the day went. May have been an action day, may have been just a day with lots of planning, may have been a nice chill out day. And you get all kinds of people coming along with all kinds of dietary requirements. Some are easy, some are really annoying to cook for, but that's okay. We welcome all creeds. So yes, we'd often have a big vegan smorgasbord set up for everyone, and people could help themselves, and we'd sit around and enjoy a meal and some good company. And the latest addition, which I don't think was there at this time, but we've got, when it was getting hot, we installed a little sprinkler system up in the roof. So during the hot days, we'd have a nice little mist coming down around us. And then we've got the scullery around the side there. So afterwards, there's some often very hardworking volunteers who clean up everyone's dishes, which is always very nice. Even John Butler got stuck into it when he came up. And he really enjoyed my hummus. I haven't put that on my resume, but I will. He loved my hummus. So yes, dining times, always lovely, always really good.
So Potter, the scullery's over here, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And this is the kitchen back behind here, right?
Yeah, that's our kitchen, slash home to the resident possum, Birri, who didn't like garam masala. He'd always knock over my garam masala and smash it. Maybe didn't like spice. Maybe he was more of a, cottage cheese kind of possum.
Yeah.
But yeah. But so apart from the possums, there were some other interesting things you find around. I think we had a carpet python sometime coming around and things like this. So there's a bit of wildlife. So we are there in the elements, obviously, but it's still a very comfortable dining experience. Al fresco. Yeah. So lots of nice times. It's also, the kitchen was a great space to meet new folks. Obviously, we had lots of people coming through camp, and sometimes it takes a lot of energy to meet new folks, but I always found being in the kitchen. I love being in the kitchen because people would come and volunteer. I get to hear people's stories, what they were all about, why'd they come up to camp, what was their favorite food, things like that, which was nice as well. So yeah.
Do you have any good memories of those kinds of stories and the kinds of interactions that you had in that way?
Oh, it's so hard to pick. There was lots of great ones. People would get really creative with the food. We'd also get a lot of produce from our local garden. So some people would come out, get a lot of the little flowers and make nice decorative salads and stuff like that. We had people go off and do their own nice little projects. We had a little sourdough starter, and we had some great sourdough baked goodies coming out. People made lots of nice ferments like kombucha and kimchi and sauerkraut. Look after our gut health whilst we're up there. So a lot of those were really nice. We did lots of pickling and preserves and things like that. But yeah, no stories stand out, but just, yeah, I think most people come in and join the kitchen. I think a lot of people feel hesitant to come in and cook for big groups of people. So it was a good space for people to come in and get confident with that, and realize, that it's not so hard. Just need a bit of confidence. And yeah, we turned out some good grub while we were up there. There was probably too much rice pudding for my liking, but that's okay.
Too much rice pudding, maybe too much mango.
Never too much mango.
No.
Yeah, I heard you touch there on John Butler and his presence there. Wonder, I don't know, maybe Amy or Minna can talk to this a little bit more, but what can you say about the musicians who have been up there, like John Butler or Lisa Mitchell or something? Clear all this.
I actually was never there when Musicians Rising took place. I can tell a lot of stories that people have told me, but Mina, if you were there, I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, there's a bit of, I think someone might need to mute themselves.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, I was there when Lisa Mitchell and Ginger and the Ghost and some camp musicians played. I thought that was a really beautiful night. We had like a songwriting workshop in the afternoon, and Lisa Mitchell sat down with a group of people. I joined in like the later half when the song had already been written, but I just remember the sun was going down. We were all sitting in the meeting space in Yimba, and we were singing this really beautiful song, which had been co-written by a young girl named Sabaya, who was there with her mum visiting camp. And then we went and did some port actions to stop people entering the Port Abbott Point Coal Terminal Port Road, which is just out of camp about half an hour near Bowen. And we sang the song there, and it was quite beautiful. And the time when John Butler visited, I think that weekend was a bit of a blur. There was a lot going on. I do remember John being really humble and really lovely, and like, yeah, getting stuck into all the camp chores just like everybody else and helping out where he could. And I think he played 2 concerts like 2 nights in a row, and we all danced late into the night. Yeah, I actually don't remember what else happened that weekend. I think it was just a really busy time with like actions and workshops and lots of things going on. Do you want to tell a bit more of what you remember, Potter? I think you were there.
I think I went to bed early before John Butler played. This is when it was getting really hot during the days, and you had to get up at 5:30 in the morning or whatever. No, but I did catch a bit of his set, and we had so much talent from just the folks who came up to camp. I think vast majority of our acts were just already there at camp or had been part of camp before, and yeah, put on a really great set. There's also some really nice open mic nights where we saw a lot of that talent on display as well, and things like this. Just really fun. We had some karaoke nights as well to see some talent and some not so much talent going on, but you know, everyone was welcome. And yeah, they were really nice evenings too. I think it just shone a light on the fact that so many activists have such you know, creative you know, assets as well. We saw that too with whenever we'd have to paint up a banner, and all these incredible artists would come out, and maybe from the still before as well of the dining tables, you could see all our dining tables were beautifully painted up. So yeah, lots of great creative things going on. But yeah, that's about all I could remember from Musicians Rising too.
Say something?
Yeah.
I was up there when you were there, Potto. Do you remember, Felicity?
Sure do.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I'm going to come up again as soon as we get let out with my friend. I don't know if I'll still come with Rhonda, but I was up there with Rhonda. And we had a lovely time. We were up there for a week. And you remember we painted the BMD. We painted over one of your big banners and put BMD on it, and went and blockaded their roadworks, and got this bloke who came in his ute and charged at us. And yeah, which was all very good fun. And yeah, we had a lovely time. We had lots of lovely meals, and really enjoyed getting in there and helping with, you know, all the cooking and the washing up and all that, and all the lovely people. And I think Wendy Royston was there too, and she was making a little video.
Wendy, yeah. We might actually see Wendy here.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, because I have been in contact with her, and
great.
I would have loved it if we'd had a karaoke night, because I can sing some songs and things. So next time I come up, let's have one.
Yeah, you're in charge.
Okay. I have to go, unfortunately, because I've got another Zoom meeting.
No worries.
Anyway, it was lovely to see you all and hear everything. And yeah, okay, thanks.
See you soon. Thanks, Felicity. I was wondering, maybe Amy, can you give us a bit of a description of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, that is a bird's eye view of the garden. I want to say, I'm really, oh wait. Oh my gosh. I think it's the garden. That's really hard. Yeah.
It's actually a pretty tricky picture.
with the garden, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is the woodshed, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Got my
And then
bearings.
that's the kitchen.
Yes. Yeah. So that is one of the two gardens that Camp Binbee has. Originally, it was the main garden, and it's where we sort of had a lot of our produce growing. But now we have a second garden, which is another sort of 100 meters away, and that one's really going well at the moment. When I just left the other week, it had so many eggplants, so many papayas, tomatoes, capsicum, heaps of veggies. This one here, we've sort of just let it be like the experimental garden. And essentially, it's got heaps of bananas. That's one great thing. You can see a few banana trees in there. So every few weeks, there's a harvest, which is awesome. And that's also just a really nice place to hang out. You can kind of, like, I think it might have been taken down, but there's like hammocks in there. So it's just a nice place to sort of relax and sort of tend to the food. And it backs onto where the kitchen is. So you can just quickly get out of the kitchen when you're cooking and grab something. And yeah, we've got the woodshed there that Nick's put a square around, which is just when it gets to winter. Like we're always having fires sort of every single night, which it's super great to sit around the campfire and have a yarn, which is lovely. And also, yeah, there's like a little hot water system that we have there where we like burn wood to get some hot water. So yeah, that's that sort of area.
Cool. I might show another video that has more of the garden. Yeah. All right. What are we doing here? We'll play some play.
Lines are all drawn. King can be killed by a pawn. Grab one more and my fortune will find where I saw the lines. Or maybe we could fix it in time.
It's incredibly inclusive, amazingly well organised for a bunch of ratbag greenies. You know, it's incredible.
I think the chooks love that. I attend the gardens, I water. The garden is about being food production, and it's based on a permaculture idea. And so we've got a number of people here that are very knowledgeable about that and helping us to set up that particular type of garden.
Providing a safe, inclusive, loving, caring, empowering, place to be. And I find that as inspiring and a good reason to come up as actually taking action. It's amazing.
I'm learning how to climb because this is a really useful thing for activists to know. And let me tell you, it's not as hard as it looks.
Cool, great, love that. Plug for climbing, which is true. It's not as hard as it looks. I wanted to just go back, not to that one, to here where we were looking at the chooks. Amy, I feel like you've got an interesting story about chooks and their camp.
Yeah. One of the first times I came to camp, the chooks were sort of let out into the entire property, which is quite big, and that's just what I was used to. And then a few more people came back that had been there before, and they noticed the chooks were coming up onto the deck and sort of going around the kitchen, and they were sort of pooing everywhere. And we had every day we have a morning meeting, and in that morning meeting, someone sort of brought up, look, we've got to talk about the chickens. I can't have them out of their run anymore. I'm just trying to sort of walk around and it's chook poo everywhere. And it was a really interesting meeting because this chicken conversation went for 45 minutes, which you wouldn't think that any conversation about chickens would go for that long. And I found it really, really awesome on the topic of consensus decision making, which is how Camp Binbee operates. Because there were many people there who said, well, I won't be eating the eggs from the chickens if they're going to be locked up. And then other people were like, well, I'm struggling trying to be here at this and campaign whilst I've got chicken poo everywhere. And because we wanted to hear everyone's voice who wanted to be heard, it was really awesome just to hear both sort of people give their point of view, and we had a really good facilitator who chatted about it. And in the end, we came to an agreement that the chicken run would be extended, and then the chickens wouldn't have to be let out onto the huge property, and we just like tripled the size of what they had. So yeah, it's like just this one memory that stuck with me for like all the time. Every time I see the chickens, I'm just like, oh, I remember when you were a hot topic and with a few heated discussions about you. So yeah, that was that's my story.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe Potter, you can reflect on how the garden and the way that food is brought into the camp is at least there's a high standard for the ethics there.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned before, we predominantly cooked a vegan diet. Well, we wanted to serve food that had the most minimal ecological impact as possible. So that was predominantly vegan, but also locally sourced food as well. I'd say we got maybe 20% of what came out of the kitchen was sourced from our own garden, which wasn't too bad. Obviously, you know, it'd be amazing to have that to be a much higher percentage, but obviously that would take more time and energy that would be taken out of focusing on the campaign. So I think we struck a good balance to have this nice little garden and project going, whilst also balancing other considerations. But yeah, we produced, like Amy mentioned, we produced a wide variety of things. There was a shot before of our cassava. We had this huge cassava harvest one time. I'm not sure if many people have had cassava. There it is. But they've got massive roots and they're delicious and they're nice and starchy and you can fry them up and they're better than potato chips. Heaps better. Really tasty. So yeah, we've got to sometimes get a nice glut from the garden of whatever. And we had so many incredible permaculture whizzes come through. He'd set up all kinds of different things, little seedling base. We had even little mushrooms. We had some oyster mushrooms growing in this little sheltered part. Someone had set up this little soldier fly larvae farm thing so that we could take those and feed them to the chickens so the chickens would get their nutrients and protein. Yeah, there was a lot of, and then in the banana circles had our wastewater runoff to collect most of that and all these swales, so we could capitalize on all the wastewater. And everyone who came up to camp was always so willing, and there was always a space to share these skills and knowledge. Every morning there was a specific agenda item around skill sharing, and so we had lots of garden whizzes who'd show us around the garden, and yeah, so that was brilliant. I learned a lot being up there. I wish I could enjoy watering more, but I'll try to learn how to do that at some point. But yeah.
That reminds me, so we had this shot in our last series, and there's a good view of camp, you know, some of the central parts of camp here. Maybe, Amy, do you want to run us through what's here, or did other people know what we're looking at and they'd like to let us know, or feel free to shout out.
Is this the shot of oh, okay.
Yeah, this is
There's the, oh, yep. Yep. So that shot there with the tarp, that's Yimba. And Yimba is the Birri word for listen. So that's a place where we have a lot of important discussions, and just when people want to go there and have chats, that's where everyone sort of goes to, a lot of chairs and sort of a relaxing space in there. And then to the right of that is the fire, which, as I was saying before, during winter, super lovely place to go and just get to know a lot of people there. That's where I got to know so many different people at nighttime, and just chat to them until the early hours of the morning, and then you stare up at the stars, which on a clear night up on Birri country, looking up at those stars is absolutely gorgeous. And in the background, you'll see the shed, which is where a lot of banners are made. It's sort of our art room. There's a projector in there where we have a lot of movie and doco screenings. And there's also a stage there as well where we do karaoke or bands have come to play. So that's a, really lively place in that shed. And to the right of that, a few, like not that small shed, but the next one, that's the kitchen. And then to the right of that is the house as well. So, but this is sort of the most sort of communal place. It's where meetings are happening. It's where people are relaxing, people are campaigning. So usually, this picture will have dozens and dozens of people just having a good time.
And I was also interested, Poto, what you were just saying there about skills and learning different skills and being in different maybe working groups, and how a lot of that kind of starts in Yimba. I don't know if one of you wants to talk about that, or.
Sure, yeah. I'll try to remember all of them. There was a lot of different working groups by the end there, but we had groups like, kitchen and garden, which we've already explained. There was like site and security, so doing the maintenance around the camp. To the right of the big shed, there was a little tool shed there where people would fix things up. So folks were doing that in the shed, painting some stuff as well. So that was site and security, also looking at maintaining the whole property, making sure that it was bushfire ready, safe, and that there was campsites and that our fencing was up and things like this. We had, what else did we have? We had security, not security, we had scouting. What was the name for scouting again? We also had a community engagement group. So a lot of, we got a lot of support from some local community members from the local towns of Collinsville and Bowen and Airlie Beach. And so we had a dedicated group maintaining those relationships and trying to look at opportunities for further engagement in these communities, given the hostile kind of environment up there, where the Murdoch press runs amok basically, and paints us in a bad light. And then we had a few other groups going. We had Solidarity and Justice, which was a group to look at how we could further better our relationship with the local mob and the mobs involved around the campaign.
That's pretty good.
That was a few of them.
Yeah, there's lots there.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly.
You could start a working group if you had any. You could start a juggling working group if you wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. Also, there's lots of stuff that goes on outside of camp that, of course, leads to support inside the camp as well. So, not everything happens on camp always. There's lots of stuff going on outside, and it's good to be connected to the community. I was just, Neil was just saying that he had an experience at camp that he was interested to share. So I'm keen to hear from Neil as well, if you wanted to take yourself off mute.
I was there only for about 3-4 days, but a lot of things happened. Drove the sort of 6-hour drive out to where they were doing test drilling for the railway, which is a huge round trip, and so I locked on there. Did a little bit of carpentry, fixed the door in the shower room, helped to cook, and it's really challenging, like vegan, and someone wouldn't eat onions or garlic, or couldn't eat onions and garlic. So, I mean, you're virtually just doing dal with lots of stock powder or to get some flavour. And so very challenging. The the diet restrictions when you're starting off vegan, even just to begin with. And with and help paint a better in the shed. Watched a movie that really impressed me, Women at War, which is that Icelandic movie, from the projector up onto the wall of the shed. Xavier Rudd was there, and he gave a little mini concert to 20 people. I mean, it's a real, really amazing if you just say, oh, this was 4 days and all these things happened at camp. And I don't think it's particularly unusual, because I don't think I was there for, say, the main music things and things like that. It's yeah, so I had a really great time. I would have liked to have stayed there longer, but I have a job where I do IT web engineering, and I couldn't get any, and I couldn't work. And I tried to get some Wi-Fi, but all the Wi-Fi was being used up by people doing activist things.
Yeah,
So
it is pretty tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to solve that. I'm building a camper. It's got its own antennas on top, so I'm going to bring my Wi-Fi next time I come to the camp.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, nice. I mean, that's a great example of how, yeah, this stuff that happens off camp that gets brought up there. It's really great to see that sort of stuff. Yeah, so with that in mind, and considering it's 7:45 now, there was one last video just about the garden, which we can watch really quickly. And then maybe if people had specific questions about logistics and getting up there, and Amy can give us a bit of a spiel on what might be coming up in the next 6 to more months. Yeah, I'll just stop sharing the screen for a second, and I've got to go to, what am I going to go to? I've got to go to this folder, and here. Whoops, you can't see that. So, and okay. Is that good? People can see that? Thumbs up? Awesome.
If history and moments of crisis tell us anything, it's that communities that cooperate have a better chance of thriving. At Camp Binbee, we have long worked together to be self-sufficient. We produce food, use solar power, recycle clothing, and minimise food and other waste. We try to limit as much as possible the pressure we put on the environment. We're self-supporting. We're not relying on fruit and veg being trucked in from miles away or even imported. It seems crazy to have apples flown from England when you can grow apples here. And so this is a way of being self-sufficient. It's fascinating to see a little tiny, tiny seed grow into something big and bountiful. We've already had a couple of green pawpaw salads, and we'll probably have some more green pawpaw salads before we let some of them ripen, and we'll eat them as like orange pawpaws. We've got some parsley and some rocket and some chives. And then over here, we have capsicum. So just over to my left there, you'll see we've got a whole lot of new garden beds. I'm really thrilled with that. We've got corn coming up. We've got beetroot coming up. So yeah, the variety in the garden is growing well.
Where are we? Cool. Amy, do you want to let us know how things are going at camp, and then we can ask questions about, yeah, how to get up there?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, we weren't expecting the Queensland government to reduce the restrictions to what they are until sort of now, or in like a week or two. It was supposed to be like, you can't travel over 250 kilometers until sort of at the moment, but instead you're allowed to travel anywhere in the state of Queensland, which we weren't necessarily planning for that. So we're still at the phase where we're not at this current time asking people to come to camp. In about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be more ready to be able to help facilitate people into the space. So that's sort of the short-term look, is that sort of keep watching what Camp Binbee is doing and getting emails from Frontline Action on Coal if you do, or Galilee Rising as well, on Facebook, and we'll be able to let you know when we can start allowing people into the space so we can do what we have always been doing. From a more long-term view, where COVID-19 has heaps of uncertainties around it, so there's a few health professionals that have said that it's likely a second outbreak is going to occur potentially in October or something. This is all super unknown at the moment, but because of that, we've decided to plan for an event, a sort of big moment, which we're planning for next year. We haven't sort of set anything in stone yet, but we're looking at sort of March, April to get people to sort of plan themselves. What we found in the past is getting people a few weeks to a month in advance to get to Central Queensland is pretty undoable for many people. So if we give everyone a few months notice, we're hoping people can sort of plan around sort of around March and April to put that in the calendars. And we are more certain that hopefully COVID-19 will not be as big of an issue. We'd love for people to come to camp. Well, we're going to be happy for people to come to camp as soon as we sort of give the call out, which is likely, who knows, in a month or so. And then we want people to come for September, October, November, December. But we don't want to sort of plan a big moment for that time, given that it's likely a second outbreak might happen. So I guess, yeah, just keep watching this space and we will let you know as soon as we're ready for people to come and we can get back to it, because Adani has been progressing during COVID. Yeah.
One thing on the calendar ahead, I'm going to be a witness in that Mad Horseman at Claremont case at the Emerald Courthouse. It was postponed from May, so I don't know when the new date will be. My guess is later this year, so that'll be a focus as well.
Wow. So do people have questions about getting up there? Getting up there, or how long did it take? How much does it cost? What's the best way to get there? Do people feel like they have a good understanding of that? Does anyone have any? Okay, all of that information would be good. So, yeah, maybe maybe we can talk about the best ways to get there from each of the states. I mean, I can run through how I got there in previous times. I've flown once, which was very easy. It was flying from Melbourne, stopping over in Brisbane, I think, and then to Proserpine. And then from Proserpine, it was a drive of about an hour. And yeah, it was, I mean, Proserpine's a lovely little spot. There's great op shops. So it's a pretty good stopover. And the other time I drove up the coast, which I did in like 4.5 days. Yeah, or 5 days. And the other time I came back down the middle of Australia, well, the middle of New South Wales. And now it took 4 days that time around. It cost around $300 in petrol. And the flights, yeah, they vary, I guess, between $300 and $600 return. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's it's relatively affordable. When I drove, I had 3 other people in the car, including my dad, which was fun to go on a road trip with him. And yeah, so I got to share some of the costs and the petrol and all that sort of stuff. But what about you, Minna? How was it going from Canberra?
I was just typing something in the chat. I have flown as well from Sydney Airport. So I got a bus from Canberra to Sydney and then flew up from Sydney to Proserpine. And sometimes there've been some really cheap flights through Tiger Air and some of the other cheap airlines like Jetstar. I've also driven from camp back down to Canberra, and we kind of legged it. We managed to do it in 2 days, but it was 2 whole days of driving, and it's a long and beautiful journey. So if you want to drive and plan some time in to stop and take it in, I'd recommend that as well. Yeah. Oh, and like the cheap flights from Sydney, they're actually quite good. It was about between like $90 and $100 each way to fly. So that made it quite affordable to go. And I think it's also worth noting as well, while we're talking about costs, that there's a suggested contribution of $15 a day. Sorry, $15 a day if you're unwaged and $25 a day if you're waged. And that's encouraged for everyone to contribute to costs like food and petrol.
There's a question here about catching a train. Has anyone done that or know what it's like?
I know a little bit about it. I think if you're coming, it can be a little bit more expensive unless you have, I think, a pension. How much is it? I think it from Melbourne to Bowen, which is where you get off, it was like $400, I want to say. But your best bet is going on this website, Rome to Rio, and it kind of, you just say where you want to be from and go to, and it gives you all the different options. It'll be like plane, driving, like how much it could cost you, how far it is, and then also buses as well as trains. So yeah, trains are possible. We pick people up. Also, just to add to what Nick was saying, when you go to the airport, someone from camp will come and pick you up. So wherever you get to, whether if you don't get to the front gate of camp, if you just get to the bus station or the train station or the airport, someone will come and get you. We'll be in communication with you prior to your arrival, and we'll organize a pickup for you. We don't require people or just rely on people getting their own way. Some people have rocked up at the front gate because they just hitchhiked from wherever they got off and then got to camp. But yeah, we can definitely go and get you. But yeah, trains, buses, planes, all the different modes.
I did also, I realized that when we were showing some of those pictures of camp, we didn't really show much of where people might stay, obvious reasons. There's some protocol around how many people can be at camp through the council, but nothing you need to worry about. It's something that camp manages. And as long as you're letting us know when you're on the way up. But there's a huge amount of space for camping. You've got really great privacy. There's lots of trees and bush around, and there's also some emergency accommodation in the house that was shown towards the end with the solar panels on it. So yeah, there's good options there in terms of camping and privacy and all that sort of thing. Yeah, are there any other questions in terms of getting there or connecting with people to get there, or yeah?
Is the Facebook Blockade group still up? So the hashtag Stop Adani Blockade space on Facebook, if you're on that, is
Blockade Adani organising space.
That one. People often used to post up that they'd be going from one city or whatever, and it's a kind of a ride sharing space, which is really good. Be cool maybe if we could organize one off social media somehow as well. But yeah, that's a good one if you're on Facebook to join that. People were posting up on the regular that they might be going from somewhere to camp.
Part of what Galilee Rising's job is to organise people in the cities and support them to find a way to go up to camp. We've been fundraising for that. We as organisers at Galilee Rising, that's specifically our our task, I guess. So we're always looking for people to help us spread the word in the cities. Get together a group of people who are willing to go together, because it's always really important that you're coming up or you have it's always really helpful that you're coming with an affinity group, because it means that you're together with people that you trust or have a deeper trust of, and can work together, not just during your time at camp, but after as well, to continue the momentum when you come back from camp. So keep an eye out for those kinds of events in your city. We're gonna be ramping that up as restrictions loosen, and we get closer to the mobilisation that happens next year. So those will be important ways for you to learn about how to get up to camp and how to get supported on your journey to camp. Now it's just after 8, and so we had in the plan for this evening that we would at 8 start to talk about or give some space to any conversation about the last 3 webinars.